I was born and raised in an urban area, a place where I grew happily, believing that this is all. Whenever I had a problem, apparently there was someone who knew someone who knew someone who had a solution to my problem. In modern days, we could say, simu moja tu, just one phone call away. But I was blown away when I had an opportunity to travel to rural communities and experience something called IK, Indigenous knowledge. It's basically collected knowledge in the custody of local communities from our country, Tanzania. It enables them to live in harmony with their surroundings while earning their livelihood. It has a set of customary laws that they adhere to. As an audiovisual storyteller, I come across different stories as I capture moments, photographs, films, radio stories to produce. But then I realize, as much as from the south to the north, my camera has been exposed, or from the west to the east, I know we should not rest, because there's a lot of untapped knowledge, there's a lot of undocumented knowledge in the custody of our local communities. Think, for example, about Terrat River. It is essential for their livelihood, for the communities living in Terrat, in fact, a pastoralist community. Now, there was a process to preserving that river, and a vertical approach was used, with outsiders coming into Terrat, looking onto the river and trying to see how can they preserve it. They failed miserably. So the moment they ran away and local communities took over their river and employed their local knowledge, the river started flowing again. Well, that's more of a horizontal approach. With the case of this Terrat River and indigenous communities, their age-set groups are responsible for different activities. For instance, the elders are responsible in overseeing the implementation of the laws, while the young ones, call them warriors, the Morani, are responsible to make sure it is happening. So if you were to violate and the Morani catch you, well, you will be subjected to 70 strokes. 70. These communities have that knowledge in them, and they use it. It is their livelihood. That is why a number of national parks in the country have been formed from the custody of indigenous peoples, indigenous territories. Think of the multiple land use Ngorongoro, the famous Serengeti National Park, or maybe Tarangire National Park. All these come from indigenous territories. Now that reminds me of a research by Professor Alan Savori from Zimbabwe, a highly acclaimed conservationist in this world. He came with the conclusion from his research that livestock can be used to mimic environments. As much as it has been shocking and breaking news to the world, to indigenous communities, it is nothing. It is part of their livelihood. They live it. So I realize the problem and the gap lies in the knowledge sharing mechanism. What we do or we don't document and what we share to the communities. Reminds me of one of my favorite fables, Hekaya za Abunuwasi. Abunuwasi's fables. One of the stories in that fable is about a man who was born visually impaired. So apparently one day, for those believers who believe in miracles, he got his sight back, so he was able to see. And the first thing that he saw in front of him was a donkey. So let's call this story of a donkey. I don't know what happened, but he lost his sight again. So the only thing he saw was a donkey. And for that purpose, in any conversation, trying to compare anything and everything with the donkey. For instance, he'll hear someone saying, John bought a new carpet. And he will go, oh, is it as colorful as the donkey? Somebody bought a new sofa. Is it as huge as the donkey? So the donkey was the only solution, because it was the only majestic thing he's ever seen before in his life. That was me in my life in an urban area, believing in that donkey, not knowing that there's more than a donkey in the rural settings. For that purpose, I want to remind you that documentation has been something we need to work on. But as much as we can document so many stories, be happy about it, we need to improve on the knowledge sharing mechanism. But the good thing is, ladies and gentlemen, modern problems require modern solution. And that's where ElieTube comes in. ElieTube is an online, interactive, multilingual learning platform which enables us community to share knowledge with each other from the ground. The local knowledge that we do not know about, we have been despising, thinking that perhaps a vertical approach is a solution to such ABC. And when it fails, we think the world is over, while solutions can be found from the communities, from our communities. I acknowledge and recognize the presence of different online learning platforms which are excelling so well, so properly, but the gap lies in the localization. It is hard for you to learn and trying to localize, or maybe for your mom or for your young ones to learn something which is not related to your community. But as much as I would want to learn about the stories from the war we were in the 70s, I could hear it firsthand from our elders. As much as I would love to learn about how Terra River was preserved, and if I couldn't find it in books, I could easily learn that from the custodians of this knowledge, our elders. Think of the legacy that they left to us, and what are we going to do to our communities. So this platform enables not only certified experts in their respective fields to share their knowledge, but also from that elder woman in Domanga to teach us something which we don't know, from that young person in Jombe who's trying to produce something out of his local knowledge and adapted knowledge from the community he's living in. That's what ElieTube is here for. I encourage each one of us here. This is an open platform. This is an open platform to utilize and expose our solutions, our homegrown solutions to tackling challenges of the world, which can be done so, is vital and crucial for solving many challenges that we are facing. I encourage you, at your time, think of something that you are perfectly excelling in. We would love to learn from you. We would love to hear from you. But as well as from that community, perhaps you visited, that knowledge your grandpa has, or your grandma, or your auntie. Let's share our knowledge to the world, which in turn is not only documentation and sharing, but further, preservation of our own community. Thank you.